You are listening to the Prosper Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. Hi, I'm Greg McCollum. I'm here with another edition of Prosper Law Podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today's topic is the 4 keys to growth, the 4 keys to begin to prosper and grow your law firm. So what are the 4 keys to growth? If you want to grow your law firm, these 4 things are something I believe you should focus on, and they're very basic, and I'll talk about them a little later. I do want to talk a little bit about Prosper Law as well. So the 4 keys are: 1 is belief. If you don't believe something will work, if you don't believe in something, if you don't believe in yourself, then it's over and done with. You're not going to try anything if you don't believe it. So belief is the foundation. The other thing is, you don't just go do something because you'll end up doing the wrong thing. And that will destroy your belief because you say, well, I tried that, it didn't work. Well, that's because you were trying either the wrong thing or trying the right thing for not long enough, or trying something that was not a good idea and you were in the process of failing and you thought that was defeat, and it wasn't. So you have to learn, but you have to be careful who you learn from. Most of us, certainly in my life, everything I learned was wrong because the people that I was listening to, they had not built a successful criminal defense law firm. So they did not know what they were talking about. And that took me in the wrong direction. It took me sideways. It took me backwards. They have to know what they're talking about. So you want to learn, but you have to have some mentors, or you have to have somebody in your life, whether it's somebody you don't even know that you listen to or something that you read, but they have to know what they're talking about, because otherwise you're learning the wrong thing. And that's worse than not even learning. The other thing is you have to try and fail forward. You probably heard this. You have to try and fail forward. And the 4th thing is you have to keep going. You know, there's a saying that when you're going through hell, keep going. So you have to keep going. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So in terms of Prosper Law, how does Prosper Law help? We have the free podcast. My book is coming out pretty soon. And that will help people, I hope, understand the process of how difficult it is, but that you can find answers and you can get through things. You can do it. Beyond that, Prosper Law has membership meetings where people go for a day and a half on the weekend and they learn how to grow their law firm. And then Prosper Law has mastermind groups, and I'll explain what a mastermind is. As for the membership level, Prosper has 3 live events per year. And these are in different cities. Some are in Myrtle Beach, but different locations. So why are they live? A lot of people like to learn in a remote environment. There's certainly advantages to it. I do it. You know, when I leave here today, I have a Zoom call with someone that I'm working with. And I think from seeing her on Facebook, I'm pretty sure she's in Paris right now. So I'm going to have a half-hour meeting with her. It's going to be productive. It's going to be terrific. I don't have to fly to Paris to talk to her. She doesn't have to fly to Myrtle Beach to meet with me. We're not going to be talking on the phone. We're going to be on a Zoom meeting. And so that's terrific. And that has a place, and that's certainly something that I do. But a live event is immersive. You're immersed in it. Your focus is there because it's focused on time and it's concentrated. You might as well focus on doing the real work there and learning and growing because you traveled there, you're in the room. That's the only thing that's going on. There are no distractions. Also, it's one thing to be on a Zoom call or a remote meeting with all the distractions that are going around in the room or in your office or wherever you are. When you're in the room with the right people who are also focused, they help shape your mindset and they help you. It helps you to focus. It reinforces your belief. It's exciting. There's energy in the room. And there's also that when you get with the right people that want to do the things that you want to do and know how to do some of the things that you want to do, there's a saying that iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. So we don't meet 2 times a year. We don't meet 4 times a year. We don't meet 6 times a year. We don't meet once a year. And there are several good things that I go to that meet once a year, and they're great. But we meet 3 times a year. And the reason for that is to have some kind of rhythm, and we're all set up in business in quarters. And so some of the things I've been involved in met quarterly. And quarterly is not bad. It's really pretty good because every quarter you're there planning for the next quarter. But therein lies part of the issue that I have with that is that 4 times a year, by the time I get on a plane and go somewhere, and then I look at what I learned, and I get back, and I get acclimated, and then within 12 weeks or whatever that is, 11 and a half weeks or 10 weeks in the future, now I've got to go do it again. It limited the time I had to make my quarterly progress, and so it almost interfered with it. 3 times a year is intense enough. It has a good cadence to it. And then I can work in my business quarterly, but also get the information I need to do 3 times a year. So it's every 4 months, not every 3 months. There's some other benefits to it. One is that, it costs less. When I would get on a plane and go to something, it would cost me between the plane ticket, the airfare, and everything else, not saying paying for the conference, and at Prosper Law, the conference is included. So if you're a member of Prosper Law, you pay a monthly membership. You don't pay anything to go to the conference. And part of that is because, in one way of looking at it, it's like health insurance. It's prepaid. It's broken down over 12 months, so the payment is less. So then when you go to one of our 3 events, you have your airfare, unless you're able to drive to it, and you have your hotel. Every time I went to a conference, and it seemed like it was $2,000, maybe it was $2,500, maybe it was $1,800, but there's an expense there. So going to a Prosper event 3 times a year, it's enough to keep you on rhythm. It's enough to have you where you can do your quarterly growth, but it saves you a trip. There's one more time. You don't have to spend time away from your family. You don't have to spend time away from your business. Don't have to spend time away from things that you need to do. It's just 3. And 3 is a good number. And then if you can focus on getting to the 3, I think this is just a better rhythm. That's something that I picked for those reasons. Now, the other thing that Prosper at Law provides is mastermind groups. And masterminds, you hear this term, I hear it all the time now. And maybe it's just because I'm dialed into all these different channels. But it seems like so many coaches and marketing companies are having masterminds. And masterminds can mean a lot of different things, but I follow the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich mastermind concept. I think Napoleon Hill might have coined that phrase in the book. It's also something that Ken Hardison, who owns Pilma, explains very clearly. And I'm a Ken Hardison fan. I've worked with Ken Hardison and Pilma, and that's, if Ken Hardison says something, I'm going to listen to it because it works. So in a mastermind group, the way that we use the term, first of all, it's live and in person. It's not remote. You're sitting in the room with the people who have the same purpose as you. It's exclusive to a geographic market. You're not going to be in a mastermind group at Prosper Law sitting with somebody that competes with you. It's just not going to happen, because you're not going to be able to talk and grow and share your secrets and get advice and be vulnerable with somebody who's over there taking notes to try to figure out how they can hurt you and sabotage you. So it has to be exclusive to a geographic market, so much so that if there were a possibility of somebody being in your market, being there, then as a mastermind member, you got the right to veto it. You can say, no, they're not coming in. That doesn't mean that person can't be in a mastermind. They just cannot be in yours. It's confidential, and people have to take that seriously. You don't go to a mastermind for 2 days and then go out and blab about what other people are doing in their law firm. You have to respect that, and that's something that's required, and that's something that people in masterminds that are serious are going to do, because it has to be confidential. Members must follow the rules. One person can't dominate the discussion. In other words, if you've got 12 people around a table and 2 people talk the whole time, it's not going to help you. Ken Hardison has the rule, and I have the rule too, that everybody around the table must speak once before you speak twice. And I've been in some mastermind groups where this was violated, and I had a discussion later with the person that facilitated it and said, that's a problem. That's an issue. If you can't stop that guy from talking, you're going to lose members, because he's taking away from their time. And people that are polite and not pushy they're not going to fight him they're not going to fight with him over the time. So you have your time on the hot seat, is what some people call it. I've been in masterminds where it was a hot seat. I've been in masterminds where it was just a focus seat. And so everybody has to have their time. Everybody's going to get about an hour during that 2-day period to talk about themselves, what's working in their law firm, and ideas and things they need help with. The other thing is that, and you're talking to, there's 12 to 15 people in the group. It's around a table. It's private. And it's curated to your level. In other words, you're not going to be sitting in a room with people that have, $20 million law firms. You're not going to be sitting in a room with people that have $50,000 law firms. If you've got a law firm and your law firm is, say, $400,000 to $800,000 or something like that, you're going to be sitting in a room with the facilitator, somebody who knows what they're talking about, but also the law firm owners in that room are going to be at your level, maybe a little higher, a little lower. They're going to be in different geographic markets. They're going to have different ideas. And that's the whole idea of the mastermind, is when people come together and share those ideas for a common purpose, the end is greater than the sum of the parts. There's something else in there, hence the term, it creates a mastermind. Those are Napoleon Hill's words. So those are things that Prosper at Law does. Those are things that we do in our business to help other lawyers start growing and becoming and achieving the success that they're looking for. So what are the keys to growth? The keys to growth are, you have to believe. Belief is basic, or you won't act. You have to learn the right stuff. from the right people. And then the things that you learn, you have to implement it. You have to try it. And it doesn't matter how badly you are at trying it. It doesn't matter how badly it works or doesn't work. Because a lot of things are not going to work, or they have to be modified a little bit. And every time I ever asked anybody in all the programs everywhere I was, I want to try this, but I don't know if I should do it this way or that way. And not one person ever said, well, we'll pick A because that will work and B won't work. Typically, that's not what they said, because this was an unknown, and the decisions and implementation is unknown. You don't know what is going to work, and the smart person I'm talking to, he or she doesn't really know what's going to work either, and so they say it, and it's not a cop-out, but they say, well, do an A/B test. Do A over here on this channel, do B over here on this channel. Look at the feedback you get. Look at which one engages. Look at which one is better. And pick the one that works. And you see this in almost everything. I remember looking at one of my forms. I think it was Google pay-per-click. It was a landing page. It was an intake form. And I thought the thing looked terrible. And I remember saying, well, it's okay, but I really don't like that form. I would rather have something else. And the person I was working with, who I still work with, said, well, that's the one everybody fills out. And you may not like it. It may not be what you think it should look like, but that's the one that works. I said, okay. So that had been A/B tested, that maybe A, B, C, D, and F tested. It had been tested, and that was the one that was working. Belief is basic, or you won't act. Learn the right stuff. Learn from the right people. Try something and implement something and get some feedback. And if it doesn't work, pivot. The other key is, as you do these things, keep going when it's not working. And when I say it's not working, I put that in quotation marks. Keep going when it's not working. Don't try it for a day. Don't try it for a week. Don't try it for 2 weeks or a month and then give up, because things have a gestation period. There's a period of time where you just have to keep going. You have to keep going even though it's not working in your mind. And this is because it is working, probably. You may not get the results you want, but it is working, and you have to be persistent and keep doing it. But there's a distinction here too, though, that is something that you have to learn and become aware of. Keep doing it even though quote, it's not working. But that does not mean just keep doing the same thing in your life and in your business year over year over year over year. There's a clock on this at some point, and it could be a different timeline for a different thing. Lawyers I know and friends of mine that are very successful that have billboard campaigns have said, listen, it took me 10 years to build my brand with billboards. One lawyer friend of mine said, I spent $1 million on billboards in 10 years. So he kept going. There was proof that billboards worked. It just takes time, and it took a long time. So he kept going. Now I think he's 20 years in, 22 years in, maybe longer, and has a brand, a big brand, because he kept doing it. Well, that was working, It wasn't working fast enough. And recently I was listening to somebody who knew what they're talking about, and they were talking about billboard strategy and moving into a new market. They said, 2 years. Don't expect anything off of that for 2 years. You're building brand, you're building awareness, so you have to give it time. So you have to have the time and the budget. You have to have the time and the budget and the commitment to keep doing it. Now, I would also add to that, don't put up a door law billboard. Don't put up a billboard that says, I'm a lawyer. If you have a legal issue, call me. Because that is not a brand. Okay, it's not focused. So you have to also be aware of what you're putting on there. It has to be something that has some uniqueness to it so that you're identifying with your target audience, your target potential clients and customers. So, keys to growth: find a teacher or teachers who are qualified to teach you. And how do you know they're qualified? Because they have some track record, they have proof of concept, they have proof of success. So you can look at something. So if it's a law firm coach or a business coach or something like that, have they taken other people from point A to point B? In other words, have they coached people who were not there and took them there and showed them how to do it? The other thing is, have they done it themselves? So have they coached people to do what you want to do? In other words, what you want to do and be, do, and have, they've helped other people get that. Or they haven't necessarily done that for other people, but they've done it for themselves. And so you know that they know how to do it because they've done it for themselves. And maybe, like in our situation, we're still doing it. Complete Legal Defense Team is still a functioning, growing law firm. Criminal defense only, growing, handling cases, doing it. We're doing it. We've got the factory, we've got the office, we've got the things, and we're constantly in there trying to improve what's working and trying to add other things into it to increase that growth level, but also to increase the consistency and the quality, because we don't want just growth, because growth without quality is not sustainable. So in that situation, you have somebody, if you're looking, we'll say this person built this law firm and sold it or whatever he or she did, so I know they can do it because they did it for themselves. Or this person, it could be some are non-lawyers. They're good programs and good coaches. They're not lawyers, but they've got a track record where either they built a successful business for themselves or they've shown other people how to do it. And you have the proof there. So it also has to be somebody that shares your values and somebody that you like and you want to work with. You don't want to go work with someone you don't like. You don't want to go work with someone that you disagree with. You don't want to go work with somebody that you clash with. You don't want to go work with somebody who bothers you. You want to go work with somebody that you want to be like, ultimately. If you look at them and you say, this is somebody that, not necessarily that you want to trade places with, but you like them. If you were more like them, then that's something that appeals to you, and you would like that. So you look around, and what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to do all day? How do you want to get there? And who do you want to take you there? And if you look in the law firm marketing space, the law firm coaching space, there's a tremendous amount of bullshit out there where people say, things like, well, grow your law firm by X number of dollars, or we'll create a $1 million law firm. Sign up with us. We'll create a $1 million law firm in 18 months. Is that possible? I never like to say something's impossible, because there have been a number of things, in the history of civilization and in modern history where people just flat out did something that no one thought was possible. So I don't want to say that it's impossible. And it not that you have to grow your law firm to $1 million, because sometimes people don't want to make $1 million law firm, because that's a whole thing that you have to grow into. Some people just want to have a good, steady, stable income and just have a little less stress and a little more free time. Some people may want to just practice law part-time and manage that and figure out a way to do that. And so it's not always just having the biggest, baddest, most successful law firm, though that appeals to a lot of people. And there are benefits to that once you get over the hump and get on the other side of that, where it starts really paying you back in terms of money, free time, and less stress. But can you do that? Can you do that in 18 months? If you have a $500,000 law firm and you're really focused on it, and you got the right teacher, and you're willing to do the right things, and honestly ready to lay out a lot of money to upgrade everything and market in a way, and certainly for people that find a new way of marketing, almost like when the lawyers first were allowed to go on television for personal injury, that worked so much so that a friend of mine who had a law firm back in the day, and I think it was the mid-'80s, we started marketing for car wrecks on television. You had to turn the ads off because they were being inundated. So it's possible like that. So could you go from $300,000, $400,000 to $1 million in 18 months? I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it also takes finding something that's new, where maybe you're the first lawyer who cracked the code on TikTok, and all of a sudden everything blows up, or you're the first lawyer to advertise on television, or something like that. So I won't say it's impossible, but is it likely? Would I tell somebody, okay, you're at $350,000 to get to $1 million, we're going to triple you. We're going to triple you in 18 months. Is that possible? It's not impossible. Is it likely? Do you want to just completely focus and do nothing else for 18 months in order to get to that goal? Maybe you can. I think a more likely result is after a year, you're at 350 and you look up and now you're at 550, and then another year you look up, and you're at 850, and another year you look up and you're over $1 million. I think that's much more realistic. That's what I see. That's what I've experienced. And so in terms of doing that, that's kind of, I believe, and some people could say I'm not ambitious enough, but I also believe in living and having a life. But is that doable? Yes. And I remember how excited I was the first time I heard that I could do that. So think about what you care about, who do you want to be, and think about, if you do nothing, where are you going to be a year from now? Do you want to be in the same place you are now a year from now? Or do you want to be somewhere better? Do you want to be on a journey going to a better place? If you do, and you're a criminal defense lawyer and you're interested in Prosper Law, check us out. You can go to prosperitlaw.com and start looking at us as a possibility if that's something that interests you. So thank you for listening. That's all for today. See you next time. If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.